Hi guys, it's Lucy, and today I'm going to be doing my March TBR. I read 5 books in the month of March, and I'll be talking about them in chronological order as usual, so let's just get into it. The first book that I read in March was The Radical Element, edited by Jessica Spotswood. This is an anthology with a bunch of authors where the theme is basically about radical girls, like girls who do something that's like radical for their time period. So this is also like historical fiction, as each story takes place during a different time period, but they're all set in America. All the girls have different diverse aspects to them, including a wide variety of religions and diversity of race as well. I ended up giving this anthology 4 stars. I actually did a full review because I got this book on NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. So either that video is already up or it's coming very soon, and I'll link it down below and somewhere on the screen. The next book that I read in the month of March was The Witch Doesn't Burn in This One by Amanda Lovelace. This is the sequel to The Princess Saves Herself in This One. This is a poetry book. I don't really know what you call books of poetry, but it's one of those, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I ended up not enjoying it as much as I wanted to. I liked the first one better. I read that last summer. Yeah, last summer. I read it during the booktubeathon actually. But yeah, I did like the first one better. And I can't help the comparison because it is a sequel, even though it's not a narrative story. It's just, I guess it's kind of an evolution of the author in a sense. It's what it's supposed to be. The poetry has a lot of feminist themes. What I didn't like so much about it is that this one clung too heavily to the theme. There was a lot about like the Salem witch trials and like those kind of witches, and like a lot of the poetry stuck to that a lot, and I just think that was to the detriment of the writing and what she was actually trying to tell, because I wasn't actually sure what she was trying to tell. I found that I liked the more personal nature of the first one, and because in this one she stuck so closely to the narrative, I guess, of witches and that kind of stuff, instead of being more personal in this one, I didn't like it as much, and it wasn't what I expected, I guess. The parts of the book that were more personal, and you can tell, I did enjoy, but there was just not as much of it. So I think if you like the first one, you'll at least like enjoy this. You'll be glad you read it. If you didn't like the first one, I don't think you'll enjoy this. The third book that I read was Anansi Boys by Neil Gaiman. I gave this 4 stars, and Anansi Boys is a sequel, companion, not really a sequel, to American Gods, also by Neil Gaiman. It's definitely more of a companion than a sequel. The only thing they have in common is that they do take place in the same world, and Fat Charlie is a character from both of these. I'm not sure if this takes place before or after American Gods. It really doesn't matter. You can read them completely separately. And I like this one more. I don't know. This one was just more fun. American Gods had a very overtly serious tone, whereas this one had more of a fun, I don't know, happy-go-lucky tone, I guess. But it's about Fat Charlie Nancy, who learns that his father is Anansi, the spider god, and then his father dies, and then it's what happens after his brother, Spider, his name is Spider, comes into his life. And it's just like, it was just so much fun. I don't have a lot to say because, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. And this is one of my favorite Neil Gaiman books, I think. I've been slowly making my way through like his whole backlist. The Ocean at the End of the Lane was my favorite adult, but this might be equal or right below it. And I also listened to the audiobook, which definitely I think helped because the audiobook narrator was great. Lenny Henry is the audiobook narrator, and I kind of looked him up, and he seems to be like a little bit kind of famous, at least in England. And I don't know, he just does such a good job. There are a lot of accents in the story because Anansi is a West African god, and then most of the characters are from like Caribbean islands. He does like accents for all those characters, and it's like really funny. It's really great. If you are interested in Neil Gaiman, I feel like this would be a good place to start. We have 2 more books left. The next book I read was Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I gave this 3.5 stars. This is a very hard sci-fi where we follow Binti, who is the first of the Himba people to be accepted to the most prestigious university in the galaxy. And this is a big deal, not only because she's the first, but also the Himba people are people who don't leave where they're from. Their culture is very rooted into their land and like where they have been living. And so for her to go, she has to leave behind her people and like her role in her family to go to this place of higher education. And so the book is about her journey there and some twists and turns that happen. And yeah, I gave this 3.5 stars, which I already mentioned, I think, because I liked it. I could see so much potential. I just wish that it was a full book. This is a novella, so it is 96 pages, and it is much too big a story for 96 pages in my opinion. I think a little bit has to do with the fact that I don't read like super hardcore sci-fi. This is set in, I'm not even sure if it's Earth, but it's definitely set way in the future. I'm not sure if it's on Earth where they start, and there are a lot of like just sci-fi elements that go unexplained, and you're kind of thrust into it. The events of the story I felt should have been more drawn out. A lot of things just happen too quickly for me, and that I don't think it makes sense for them to happen, or we end up having to skip ahead in time or things like that. And I just think it would have been better if we had more time to get used to the language and like words they were using, as well as the actual plot, and more time for characters to develop and for the plot to develop. So I will be reading the second one, even though I'm pretty sure the second one is not a direct sequel, or like it takes place a year after the events of the first one, which is a little disappointing to me, but I will be reading because I want to see what happens. Last but not least, we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I'm sure you've heard of this book. It has been making the round on BookTube for years, since I started this channel, I remember. But basically, it's kind of hard to explain. I think that the synopsis gives away too much, because I think a lot of the appeal of this book is learning about like what's going on and letting the atmosphere kind of take you in. So I'm going to try and be as vague as possible. Basically, there's a circus that is very highly revered around the world, and it's a very mysterious circus. No one knows where it'll go, no one knows when it'll leave, when it does show up somewhere, and people just like enjoy it where it comes. And within the circus, there's a lot of like politics kind of going on, where there's a game being played, but no one really knows about the game. People don't even know who's in the game. The players of the game don't even know who's playing, and it's like a lot. But that's kind of the overview. There's some magical aspects to it. There is kind of a magic system, but it's very kind of just there. It's not always explained. That's not the point of the story, so it didn't really bother me. It's definitely more character driven, and it's definitely more slow paced. I listened to the audiobook, which was narrated by Jim Dale, who does a good job. I'm pretty sure he narrates the Harry Potter audiobooks as well, so that also definitely helped with building the atmosphere and everything. I have heard things about Jim Dale's narration for female characters, and I kind of agree. They're not the best, but when you get used to it, it's fine. I don't know, it's just like as magical as everyone says. I don't really have a lot to say to review or whatever. I felt really immersed in what was going on, and I just really liked it for that reason. The plot ending was a little bit weak for me, but I was enjoying the ride so much. I just had a good time while reading it, so I would recommend it if you're interested in a character-driven book of magic. Those are all the books that I read in the month of March. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any opinions about any of the books that I mentioned in this video, please be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, because I make more videos where I talk about books. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!